Hi, everybody. Welcome to Katrina and Friends. So glad to have you all back here. Thank you so much for all the wonderful feedback I've gotten from you about the interviews. I'm glad that you all feel that, yes, in fact, I do know really cool people. It's true. And that's why I'm so excited to bring them to you and just show you that not everybody out there is an idiot. It's very easy to get convinced of that. You just go to the grocery store or you just step out of your house for a little while, you can quickly come to that conclusion. And this is just to remind you, and quite frankly, me, that there are still really cool people out there in the world. And one of those cool people is right in front of you right now. And that's my very dear friend, Nelta. Privitt. You still Privitt?
Hi.
Are you still going by Privitt?
Yeah, and we can't legally change it yet, or
Gotcha.
at least not for free.
Gotcha. Nelta is recently uncoupled.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make sure, and I should have asked that in pre-show, and I didn't. So Nelta, as you can tell from the title, is she's a practicing witch and conjure woman. She's a social activist who wears a lot of hats in that department, and she is also a professional advocate for the unhoused. And we met when I was teaching a class in 2017. 2017 or 2018? 2017.
17.
17. And there was another gal in the class that I'm also still close with named Kelda, and I kept getting them mixed up, and it was so frustrating. And the way that Nelta distinguished herself, one moment, please, where is it? I gotta find them, man. Where are they? Is she gave me this little pack of stickers. You know what? I'm not seeing them, so I'm not gonna embarrass myself by digging around it more. It was a gold star, and it said you get a gold star for that shit. And there were hundreds of them, and I gave those out, and it got to where the class would fight over who was going to get a sticker or how they could get a sticker. It was a lot of fun. Wow, that was a weird sound that happened just then. Anyway, Nelta just got into my heart. So Nelta became my apprentice when I was doing cleansings for people. Nelta made a lot of our product at the store, and was just sort of one of my right hands. I have a few, and just amazing. So Nelta and I have stayed close, and I thought this was a very timely interview to do, given some of the economic changes that may be coming down the pike. So I'm going to let Nelta tell you whatever else she wants to say about herself, and then we'll get rolling. Go, Nelta.
I mean, you covered it pretty well, I think. Yeah, witch, social activist, advocate, and community. I do a bunch of community education now, both around unhoused people and unhoused animals. So big proponent, fighter for just everything without shelter. I don't think there should be anything without shelter.
All right. I love that. So you also are involved with some of the niche communities in our
Yes.
in our town, in our world. And so you were really active on the pagan pride circuit and on the Pangaea circuit and working festivals and helping to run those. You're a participant in the polyamorous community. And I'm trying to think of some of the other interesting things you've done.
I mean,
That's a pretty wide scope there.
it is, and I mean, all of it kind of wraps into my need to educate people. So, Pangaea and Pagan Pride were extensions of teaching, community education. Poly, I mean, that's just fun. But also, I mean, there was an educational aspect to that too, because just like at any community, you have, creeps and people who don't understand the reality of what it is and the fullness and richness that you can have in these relationships. And me being the loud and unscared person I am, I had no problem telling them how they were wrong.
So a lot of people who are not poly don't have a good or an accurate impression of what it is. Do you want to try to? I know it's a complex
It is.
thing.
It's a web, and it's a little different for everybody. Just like your relationship is going to be different from the next monogamous relationship, and it's nuanced. But it's basically the freedom to love whomever you are going to naturally love without the restrictions of potentially hurting the people you already love. Um, and there's a lot of levels to that. There's a lot of different kinds of love. I think the biggest takeaway for me from the poly community is that there is no one, like a singular one, at least for me. And that really jives with everything I've ever really done in my life. I don't have a favorite color. I don't have a favorite food. I have a lot of them I like for different reasons, and that is my approach to polyamory. And as long as everybody knows what's going on, everything's on the table. We're not hiding, we're not lying, we're not making excuses. We are genuine and open and honest with all of our people. Do like your love for somebody else does not negate the love that you have for me.
So I'm not trying to throw labels or get into pigeonholes here or anything, but if you were to look at the different demographics that you know of, which you have a pretty wide scope of reference. I don't just mean with your vagina. I mean with people that you know and people that you've met. So I don't want you to think that's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
I hate. Would you say that polyamory? Well, we can definitely say that it seems like it's more prevalent in pagan relationships and pagan homes than in non-pagan. Would you say that's true?
Um. So I absolutely understand where you would see that, because it's hella prevalent in pagan communities. It blends together. Polytheism and polyamory go really well together. I do also see it in agnostic atheists a lot. Where I don't see it is Christendom, pretty much. That's the only place.
It's really the Christian doctrine that beats it down, is what
Pretty
you
much patriarchy, and Christendom and the patriarchy love their monogamy because that's control.
What about the queer community?
I really feel like you do see it a lot more, and not even just in like the full-on relationships, but like the love and affection the queer community is capable of giving to each other, just even as friends. Like they don't even want to put a label on it. Just, tonight he said something that made me want to make out with him. And that's a thing.
So, one of the things that a lot of people would want to ask you, now you have kids and your kids are grown.
Yes.
Was that difficult to navigate with kids?
So with my daughter, it was a little bit more difficult. And I think that was because she was going through some of her own identity stuff. And I really feel like the mother-daughter relationship kind of just generally gets a little bit rocky in the teen years.
Sure.
But we're good now. I mean, it's simple at this point. She's met several of my partners. My son didn't care. So it was a non-issue with him. He just, never really cared.
So let's ease over into what is possibly an even more uncomfortable conversation to have. Given the current economical circumstances, we're now 20 some days into the government shutdown.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has come forward, and I like for these to be evergreen, but so I don't usually like to put timing on any of our interviews, but one of the things that is really prevalent right now that deserves discussion is that the administration has said that SNAP benefits will not be issued in November, which of course affects millions of Americans.
So many people.
And especially, I won't say especially, but a lot of those Americans are in California.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like
and
40 million or something.
So many. And you specialize with your career in helping and advocating for unhoused people. And I've learned from you that unhoused is the preferred term as opposed to homeless. They're
There's
not
just a taboo
they're not
around.
homeless, they're houseless.
Yeah, and because I mean, you go through like the encampments that we had over COVID, or I mean, drive down any like rural street in my area as we get closer to the country, but out just outside the city, and they're building shelter. They're building themselves a little home and a little place that is theirs, and absolutely making it their own. It's not that they're homeless; it's that they're literally what society now says we have to have is a houseless. Like,
Got it.
and that's it's a completely different thing. Also the nomenclature, like homeless, an unhoused person, it puts the person first. It doesn't lump them into the adjective, if that makes sense. Or it separates them from the adjective, and I think that's important because you say somebody's homeless and then all of a sudden people turn up their nose, and oh, what did he do to get there? He must be a drug addict. All of these taboos and stereotypes that we're putting on them. And the reality of it is right now, no, 70% of my client list is seniors on SSI.
Mm. So one of the other things we have doing battle with our ability to remain housed, not only the unbelievably expensive nature of housing, but also we're at record highs of joblessness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when rent is, let's be really generous and say $1,500 a month, and that's super
Yeah,
ghetto, you know.
yeah. No, that's the middle of DPH. Your house might have bullet
Yeah.
holes.
If you get 2 months behind on your rent, oh my gosh, that's more than I paid for my first car.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how expensive housing is. And so we have a lot of people who are poised on the edge of not being housed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Paycheck to
now
paycheck
they're
it
going to be
too.
hungry too. So what advice would you have, first of all, for people who find themselves unhoused, which, let's face it, most of us are not good at that. A lot of us don't know the resources available, and then people who find themselves without food resources.
So the major resources right now around shelter, if you find yourself unhoused, is going to be, it's all municipal. You have to call or get a hold of. I believe every county has a 211, and it does essentially the same thing. Just like every county has like a 311, and it does your trash and stuff like that. Um, the first stop is going to be the local Department of Human Assistance and 211 because they're going to have the most resources. The point of 211 is to centralize some of those resources into one place with people who know what they're talking about and are able to assess your situation and help point you in the right direction.
Got it.
Yeah, and calling 211, there will be questions, there will be an assessment. Be as honest as you can. As they're not there to judge you, they're there to help you, and they can't help you properly if you're not giving them the truth.
So I want to make sure I understand correctly that even though SNAP, which is, for those who don't know, it's what we used to call food stamps, even though that comes through a government subsidy, if it's a matter of housing, that's dealt with at a county level, correct?
More. Well, in this state, it's dealt with at a county level. Um, like the state of Idaho does it at a state level. So I imagine that their 211 goes for the whole state.
But if something is county or state, it's not going to be affected by the government shutdown then. So those
No,
offices are still working, still helping people. So you don't have to worry that your concern isn't going to be addressed.
yeah, no. Our funding is secured for like the whole fiscal year.
Outstanding.
And then we might have to fight for it when budget comes up and stuff like that. But a shutdown is not going to stop us in the immediate.
I haven't heard anything about school lunches, but I know that is USDA and USDA is federal. So are we expecting, do you know if school lunch programs that are subsidized are going to be affected?
I don't believe so because, again, schools are funded for the year. So in theory, that should be the lunch program too. They, make a budget. They set an amount that they're going to spend for the year, and then they ask for that money up front. And that doesn't really change or fluctuate like SNAP would, depending on how many people applied that month. So it's a pretty consistent thing. Our kids are still going to get breakfast and lunch. What might go by the wayside are the weekend and vacation chunks of food stuff that some of the districts have been doing, where you can send your kid up to the school at like noon and they get a breakfast and a lunch, to go or whatever.
So school meals should, in theory, be funded through the rest of the school year.
They should, yes.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that. So if somebody isn't on the brink of being unhoused and does have food in their cupboards and in their refrigerators, what is the best way to help? Because we're going to have this wave of people that are suddenly in need. We expect that food banks are going to be really challenged as far as staffing and supplies. What do we do?
You call your food bank and you ask them if they need volunteers, if they need specific donations. Honestly, cash goes further at a food bank than it will at your grocery store because they get special pricing and discounts from distributors, especially since when they do have the cash to do it, will buy like wholesale pricing. Beyond that, find out where your little local free pantries are and throw a couple cans in it, because 2 or 3 cans from each of your neighbors will fill that pantry for the couple of neighbors who don't have anything in theirs.
So another thing that is a really huge need, we're coming into cold months. So people need what? Sleeping bags and blankets and coats and
yeah, warm weather stuff, socks, boots, shoes, coverings for your feet so that you're at least out of the wet. There's a number of programs that we get like corporate donations from. Like Bomba is a sock manufacturer, amazing company. Every year they send us like 15,000 pairs of socks to distribute. Find companies like that you can support that actually give back to the community too. What is it? Tom's, the shoes. For every pair you buy, they send a pair to another country somewhere or something like that. Supporting those kind of businesses. But I mean, especially right now, every county, every municipality is gonna have some outreach group that deals directly with the homeless in that community. And if you really, really want to help, you'll contact them and find out what they need, because the needs are going to be different in different geographic areas. And it'll be things you don't even think of, like Band-Aids. They go fast. Menstrual products are so in demand. I have a friend who does what she calls a purse drive, where she goes and she collects combs and menstrual products and a bunch of stuff like that. And then she goes to like a Goodwill and picks up like 15 decent purses and stuffs the purses with specifically feminine supplies and then hands them out to homeless women as she sees them. There's nothing too small. Even helping one person is a big deal these days, because at this point in time, a lot of our unsheltered folks have been so kicked around and have been out there so long and through so many battles, and it just feels like nobody cares anymore. Nobody's listening. Nobody ever asks what they need. They just assume that they know better. And I think a big part of wanting to help is assuming that you don't know better and asking.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when they donate to food banks or they donate to outreach programs?
Not thinking about the logistics of dispersing what they're donating.
So can openers and things like that.
Can openers, shelf-stable milk, bread. Because people think, okay, I'm going to donate my non-perishables, or even just cleaning out their pantry and they're like, oh, we haven't eaten this in 2 years. I might as well donate it. If you haven't eaten it in 2 years, nobody else is going to want it either.
So my 14 cans of cranberry sauce didn't go very far.
Oh no, so okay. That holiday meal staples are probably an exception. But like the can of peas, no. Can of what are the whole potatoes in a can? No.
Mm,
No, those did not go very far.
got it.
Um, Stovetop is a thing that everybody loves and some for some reason doesn't really get donated. And that's a
Hmm.
thing that's only involves water. Like look at the ingredients in the food or, Kraft mac and cheese is supposed to take milk and butter, but there's no milk and butter at the food pantry.
Yeah, Hamburger Helper has an operative word in the title.
Hamburger. And that actually is another thing too, is that I love the little free pantries. What I'm starting to see pop up that I love even more is little free refrigerators
Mm.
where folks put like an ancient, terrible refrigerator that nobody wants to steal in their yard, have an extension cord run into it, or a solar panel in some cases, which I think is brilliant. And they stock it with fresh stuff, the stuff that needs to be refrigerated that our unsheltered folks just really don't get a chance at very
Mm.
often. And I mean, for some of us, that pound of hamburger is Tuesday night's dinner. That's maybe once every couple of months for some of our
Sure.
unsheltered folks. And I mean, they do super resourceful. Almost every one of them has a pan. They would be able to cook somehow, or in the communities that they create, they'd be able to cook for each other. Because that's the other thing too, is if you donate to one person in the unsheltered community, there's a really good chance they're going to share with other
Mm.
folks in the same situation. So you might think you're just helping one person, but in reality, you're probably helping 4 or 5.
Wow. One misperception that I see a lot is for some reason, people who are not unhoused seem to have the impression that people who are unhoused are there because they want to be and choose to be, because there are so many resources available that could get help if they wanted it.
There are resources, yes. But, and I was actually having a discussion with some colleagues about this the other day, to go through the path to get housed without having full gainful employment, and I'm talking 3+ grand a month at a minimum. You absolutely need a advocate, an intermediate. You need a me in the
Mm.
middle. And there's a lot of us, but there's also a lot of turnover. So not everybody is necessarily as educated on all the programs as they should be. They know their routes. And so it takes a really, really long time. Even once you get to me, there's a really good chance you're going to sit on my panel waiting for housing 18 months to 2 years,
Mm.
because the priority list right now in Sacramento County is somewhere around 7,000 people, 7,000 households.
Wow.
And that's just the amount of people that have a me, or have at one point in time called one point in time this year called 211 and done the assessment for housing.
Hmm.
And then they have to wait. They hear nothing for months and then assume that the government has forsaken them and there is nothing, and they give up, or they lose their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if losing your phone, breaking your phone, getting robbed is a huge thing across the board. And people are just mean and rude to that. Like, and beyond getting robbed, the sweeps. Cops don't care if they take
Mm.
your birth certificate or your ID and your phone, or if they break your phone in the process. And if they took your IDs, you can't get a new phone until you get your IDs.
Mm.
And most of them don't have the $33. And so if they don't know me or somebody in my industry, they don't know that they can get a free ID.
Mm.
So there's resources, but there's also a whole lot of barriers to get to even getting to those resources.
Got it.
And you have to push, and you have to have the energy to push. Like, and that's not even taking into account like the whole mental state of being unhoused. Like, because how just, or in your head that everyone's looking at you that way, and it's its own stressor, and it makes you not
Mhm.
even want to try anymore for a lot of them. And it's
Mm.
not that they want to be out there, It's that they've been so disillusioned by how long the system takes to help them that they don't feel like it's even worth it. And some of the barriers too are created by the organizations themselves in wanting some sort of pat on the back, or we call it charity porn, where you help somebody and then you want them to write a letter of thanks or take a picture or something like that. You want them to feel grateful, and you want to make sure that you feel their gratitude, and that's not what this is about.
Right. Right. So what percentage of the unhoused that you see in your numbers are families with children?
um God, probably 40%. We've got an entire hour and a half meeting once a week about specifically families with high barriers.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Are
a lot of them
most of them
single parent.
are most of them living in vehicles, or are they living in encampments or on the streets? What's happening with these folks that don't have?
A bit of variety. We do have our folks in their cars. We do have our folks actually in tents, because it is not illegal to be unhoused with your child. That is not a CPSable offense. But there is a whole lot of people who think it is, and there are a lot of families that are separated while unsheltered, and kids live with grandma, or kids live with an aunt and uncle, where mom and dad can't stay.
Wow.
For one reason or another. So it's a lot. They're just trying to figure out how to make it as best as, and every one of them is trying to make it as best as possible for their kid.
Sure, sure. So I'm trying to think of, there just isn't a good note to leave that conversation on. So what I would say is, if you need help with housing, 211 is your
Is your
gateway.
Yes, is your gateway.
And that's
If you live in the state of
211 help.
California, and if you live in the state of California now, Medi-Cal, contact your health plan, because Medi-Cal will, they have some community support services now, specifically around tenancy and sustaining, and housing deposits, things like that. There is help that California specifically is doing. I hope that based on our models, it will roll out across the country eventually, because it really does save the state money. Instead of paying for 14 ER visits a year, throw $5,000 at them, get them housed, get them connected to primary care. It's so much cheaper.
Got it. So, and if someone needs food, what is the fastest way for them to find their food banks in their area?
So 211 again is going to have a list, and 211 always has a website too for if you're just looking for local resources, not looking for the housing stuff on 211, you want to call. Everything else through 211, you could pretty much go to the website. They have a really good website. A lot of larger churches, especially Catholic churches, if it's got saint in the name, it's probably got a food bank. And then talking to your neighbors, who's the local nonprofit that's always causing a fuss? Bet they have resources.
Got it. So basically, if you can help, please help. If you need help, please reach out and get that help. It's
absolutely, nobody's judging you if you need help. We want to help.
And the help is there for a reason. And you may have to stand in a line. You may have to wait for an appointment, but you will get help. So what do you think happens to you when you die?
I think that greatly depends on what you did when you lived. I think you are judged and weighed, not quite Anubis style, but I like the analogy there. And if you pass, you get to move up. And if you didn't, you start over.
Wow. So start over, what does that look like?
So I believe that there are certain things that we are here to learn. And not that we have to learn them all in one life, but that we are given certain things each lifetime to learn. And if we learned those things and we demonstrate how well we learned them, we get to move to the next lesson. If we don't, we start over with that lesson and we do it again.
Go to the back of the line, right?
Yep.
Okay. So in life, we have a lot of people that change who we are and inform our worldview uh, through trauma and through abuse and by modeling behaviors that we don't want to emulate. I know you've had those people in your life. I've had them in mine. So, what is the list of people? Who's on the list of people who have influenced you in a positive way and changed who you are, how you view the world, how you engage with others in a good way? Who would that be?
So that's going to start first with the guy I call dad. Not my biological father, but absolutely picked me and um, taught me the great skills of working with my hands. And I feel like that's not something that folks my age get to do so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it taught me proper pride as well as humility. Because it's real easy to get prideful when you made something cool and then hurt yourself,
Mm.
especially with power tools. And we had a lot of really great discussions as I was growing up, because he was raised Roman Catholic, and then I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So we had some very interesting conversations around God and what we actually believed. And he's the first person that ever made me realize that it was okay to have questions, and especially when it comes to like the Bible, the text, and it he never made me feel weird for my weird questions, and my questions get weird.
Yes, they
Um,
do. In a
um,
good way, in a really good way.
and then I think after that, that's going to be the couple of moms who opened their home to me when my family kicked me out when I first came out as pagan.
Sure, sure.
Taught me empathy, taught me tough love, taught me boundaries, um, taught me to tell the truth, and that was a big thing I think when I was a teenager. Um,
That's huge.
yeah, no, it was, and it's funny because I'm literally trying to think of their name and I can't come up with it because I've called them mom forever. Um, so yeah, there's
Great.
that, and then I think the final credit's going to go to Alexis. Having her at 16 absolutely changed everything about the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And for the better, because I know how easy it is. Like, I grew up in the 16 and pregnant generation. Like, I watched that on MTV, and those girls were terrible. But she helped me find my calm, um, understand that not everything was about me, and
Mm.
really helped me be able to like tap into my empathy, I think, especially when she was younger, because I mean, we all know it's not easy to get kids to express themselves. So, and or explain, they don't know how to express themselves at that age, at such a young age. And like having to feel out what she was feeling to help make things better, because
Sure.
it with her, I made a promise that I was never going to be my mother.
Mm.
And so I consciously made efforts to try and understand her better, and draw her out and ask her the questions and tell her the things that I didn't hear that I wanted to hear as a kid.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so yeah, my daughter saved my life and changed me in so many ways.
That's just wonderful, and, your daughter also is really dear to my heart, and I don't know Aiden very well, but your daughter is just wonderful, and, yeah, love that girl. So speaking of that, what as you looked back on your life so far, you've got a long stretch of road ahead of you still, but when you look back so far, what do you look at and think, "I did good with that. I aced that." What are you proud of? For one thing, putting floors in your house.
I mean, yeah, no, my ability to fix and repair, 100%. I am good at the DIY thing. I rarely have to like hire. for things, unless I don't want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of things that I did like right and I did that well, and I enjoyed it. Um, Outside of my kids, because I feel like that's obvious, because I love my kids and I'm proud of who they are. Um, I'd say my master's work. I was
Oh, that was hard
so proud
work.
of that. I was
Yeah.
so proud of that. Building, an apartment, an affordable apartment complex from the ground up, which means federal grants and tons of research and reaching out to companies and getting realistic timelines. That was so much work and it went so well. And I was so proud of that project.
And then you got robbed on your graduation.
I did. COVID took it away. But that's all
Mm,
right because if I had gone to my regular graduation, I would not have gotten the Imperial Death March.
true story. Yeah, true story. Well, those are awesome things to be proud of. And I do love those. So what movie or TV or podcast or book are you into lately?
um, it's so visual entertainment. The movies and shows I've been watching a lot recently have a lot around. They have a lot of religious themes. Like I don't know if you've seen the show Evil.
Yes, I've seen it all.
Yeah, yeah.
That's intense.
I like
Hot
that
streets
one.
go.
Like I'm digging Lucifer right now. That's my current background noise. I've been watching a bunch of horror movies because it's, Halloween time.
Sure.
So we watched Midsommar last night, which was a trip. Um Creepy and hella, like I would actually recommend if you haven't seen that one. Because it's Swedish pagans kidnap, or
Noted.
well, kind of kidnap. It's weird, but it's around Midsummer Festival in Sweden, in a tiny
Okay.
little town in Sweden. Um, but yeah, most of what I'm watching lately has oddly religious overtones, Christian overtones, and I like to yell at them when they're wrong.
Well, you definitely can approach that from a few different directions.
A little
So
bit.
I think you'd be a reliable reporter on that. So you work all the time, harder than I've ever seen you work at any job is the jobs you've had in the last, what has it been, 2 years since you left the sign company? 3 years. Oh my God. Um, so you don't get a chance to do very much in terms of fun stuff. What's on your bucket list? What do you still want to do and accomplish in your life?
Travel. I want to go places and see things that aren't like, I love California. It's beautiful here. I don't want to live really anywhere else, but I would like to see other places. The handful of places I've gotten to visit, I always get a trip over how different the energy is,
Yeah.
how different it just feels. Um, and it's a little bit fun for me doing minor energy work in new areas and seeing how it responds to the
Mhm.
energy of the area, because it impacts. So travel and
Yeah.
experiment with energy work.
I have trouble working in the desert. And I think it's because I have so much um, earth and water in in my natal chart
Hmm.
that when I get into a really dry area like that, it just bottoms my energy right out. And of course, energy is a lot of it's what we call it being very fluid. And so yeah, the dry area is just I can do it, but I have to work so much harder. And when I moved up into the mountains, it was just so much, it's wetter and it's higher altitude and it's colder and everything just moved so much better once I got there.
Yeah, I've only like spent a decent amount of time in the desert once, and that was pretty recent. And if I'm quite honest, I was a lot in awe,
Mm.
and didn't do as much energy work as I would have liked in retrospect. Um, but mostly, I mean, it's the plants. They were tripping me out. They were
Well,
not normal.
what we haven't mentioned is that you are an amateur botanist,
A little bit, yeah. Herbalist, botanist,
and
apothecary.
and
I
you own the Vulgar Apothecary.
I do. We haven't done so much commercial apothecary stuff lately, but I am reworking some stuff, growing some new plants, um, playing with the plants that I have. Uh, we're gonna start some datura seeds here in
Ooh,
a few
fancy.
days. Yeah, yeah, that'll be fun.
Now they have to be grown in a particular way, right?
So
Am
they
I?
have to be started very similar to sage,
Mm-hmm.
where it's got to be a specific set of temperatures. Just datura is a lower temperature range than sage usually is, and it likes a little bit, well, a lot more water and humidity. So it's
Hmm.
going to be one of the ones that I get to start like on a low warm pad in a bag, so it keeps its moisture and stuff. Whereas if I was sage, I was trying to start, it would be like in dirt where it could dry out in between.
Got it. What's your favorite part of the day?
In the morning, right before the sun comes up,
Mm,
nobody's up. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Full of hope. I
that's
like that place.
made it through another night. Get to do whatever you want to today, and within
Well,
reason.
yeah, and
With different choices if necessary.
I get to enjoy some time by myself. I'm a planner, so I think about my day and I figure out what I'm going to do for my day. Spend time with my dogs. Just cuddle up with them in the morning because they're still sleepy and have just had breakfast and want to lay back down. And yeah, no, it's a probably my favorite part of the day.
It's a good part of the day.
Yeah.
So, if you could go back with full knowledge that you've got now to any point in your life, any time in your life, and tell your past self something, what would you say? And when would that? Who would you be saying it to? Which part of yourself would you be saying it to? What age of yourself?
So I'd probably go back to junior high because
Mhm.
that was some of my roughest chunks of time, and attempt to convince myself that it didn't matter what they thought about me.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a source of a lot of pain for a lot of people.
it is, and for me, it took a turn. Like body dysmorphia was a thing, and it created lifelong issues for me physically, and I would much rather not have that. So if I could convince young me that it doesn't matter that I'm not, as skinny as the next girl or whatever, that I'm
Mhm.
never going to be able to achieve that. And even trying to achieve that is unhealthy and is going to make me sick for a really long time. Um, yeah. I mean, honestly, if I could go back to a good chunk of points in my youth and just be like, don't fall down, like take care of your body.
No
Um,
kidding.
Like, because I mean, the lessons I've learned along the way, a lot of the stuff that I've done, I like where I'm at now. So I don't know how much of that I would change, but definitely changing the way that I saw myself would be
Sure.
helpful because it wasn't until my 30s when I really started to understand my worth as a
Well,
me, not as a mom, as or
mhm.
as anything else, but just what I'm worth all by myself.
Well, that's really hard to do when you don't have strong parent role models.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to know who we are, much less appreciate who we are, without a positive image of that being reflected back to us by our parents.
Yep.
And you and I both kind of struggle with that, you more so than me, but definitely that's a real challenge.
Yeah, but I've been really fortunate, since and having been surrounded by some amazing folks. Um, and we're all a work in progress, but yeah, if I could convince my younger self that I'm worth it as I am, I think that would be it.
Awesome. Do you have anything you would like to promote? Now, this can be something you do, it can be something somebody else does, it can be an organization, but we put links down in the description and we can put some of the any links of resources that we've talked about and that sort of thing. Although I'm hesitant to do that because it changes.
It does change,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, maybe just putting a 2-1 generic 211 as far as the resources go, but I mean, right now my big promotion is help your food banks. help your little free pantries. Find there is some small way that we can all help our community, and in doing so, we rebuild community because we are sorely lacking in that overall right now. We are very me and my family first. But you know
Mhm.
what happens is when we hit hard times and you're me and my family first, nobody thinks to help you.
And connection is hard because anytime you're looking to connect with somebody, you're making yourself vulnerable. And
Yeah.
people do not like that. They don't like that risk of rejection. They don't like that idea that they might learn something about the other person that is a deal breaker or that they don't like. So I think more than ever, people are resisting connecting with other people, and that breaks down community.
Yeah, and in reality, you spend time next to just about anybody regardless of religious, political, I mean with some exceptions, ideology, and these differences that we're taught to like see just right off top kind of go out the window, and you're able to find common ground a lot of times and empathy. Like there's the one thing that everybody in that food bank line is struggling with and you all know it. Y'all could band together and make resources or whatever, like help
Yeah.
each other out. um there's it's not that we're going to find deal breakers when we go to make community. It's that we're going to find actual connection and potentially change things that we thought before. And I think that is hard for people too, is that having preconceived notions challenged gets hard and keeps us to ourselves. um but yeah, no, right now I don't know that there's a link for it. I'm advocating community. I am
Mhm.
advocating taking care of each other because in the grand scheme, we are all we have and no one is an island.
I think one of the most important things we can do is that when we find ourselves forming, I would say, a negative opinion or a prejudicial opinion about any group of people or any segment of society, the best thing we can do is to go find that person
Hmm.
and put a face to it and talk to them rather than cowering in fear or listening to the echo chamber that's in your Facebook group or
Yeah.
whatever. See that person, talk
Find
to
out
that
for
person.
yourself.
Because what one of the things I feel that made the how can I put it, that pushed forward the conversation about queer people was when we stopped just saying, oh, it's a sin to be homosexual and just leaving it at that, and started seeing them on TV and talking to them in our family about, our aunt who had her lifelong companion, that she platonically lived
Her
with
best
for
friend that
40
she
years.
lived with in her one bedroom apartment for 50 years.
Right. Talk to them and find out who they are. And if after you have gone with an open mind and talked to these people and found out what they're about, if you then want to make the what I guess you call an educated decision that what, I'm just not into this, that's fine. That doesn't
But
mean you've
there's
got to go to a kink party to learn about poly. It
no.
means that you should just talk to people that are in a part of society that you're maligning rather than just reposting all the memes and um, perpetuating that ostracizing and that hatred. Put the
Mhm.
face on it.
Humanize
And
them.
one of the things that is coming forth now, even though people don't want to, is putting the face on trans people rather than thinking of them as just trans people. Meet them, talk to them, see why they made this change in their life
Yeah.
and what brought that about and what were they feeling. Show some curiosity about
Yeah.
people in a non-judgmental, positive way, and you will learn so much
Oh yeah.
about community and about connecting with others.
No, and connection is, I think, in the end, what's going to save us.
I hope we can get enough of it going to save us.
That part.
And that's kind of what this video series is about, It's about making connections and seeing the face and understanding the perspective of somebody you might not ordinarily meet.
Yeah.
And it's also helping me because I get to see when I'm feeling ostracized and I'm feeling alone. Look, I know all these awesome people, and I had the privilege of sitting in rooms with these people and having long conversations with them and getting to know them. And it's not just in my little, pagan shell.
Yeah.
It's all different kinds of people, and it's wonderful. So I appreciate you being here, Nelta. Do you have anything that you would like to share or add before we
Um,
finish up?
Not that I can think of. I love you, and I have thoroughly enjoyed being here. Thank you for
Thank
inviting me.
you. Don't
Um,
forget, there's 8 more questions, so we'll get you back again.
yes, yes, there is.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your candor and for the wonderful information that you shared. And excuse me, I look forward to getting this out there in the world. So thank you so much.
No
Bye bye,
problem.
everybody.